Final Fantasy VII R is not a remake. Square Enix literally had one job: remake Final Fantasy VII, and they failed in every conceivable fashion. I've already talked at length about the gameplay changes and the episodic nature, which in and of itself ruined the game for me and completely killed my enthusiasm for this remake of a beloved game. But it has gone beyond that at this point. We've known for quite some time, even though Square specifically said they were not going to do this, we've known for quite some time that Square was going to add in new plot elements and characters to the Final Fantasy VII canon and story. They would be present from the very beginning and continue from there. They were new additional content for episode 1. It was going to make this already beloved game even better. So of course, my issue with that from the very beginning was that, well, it's going to ruin the pacing of the game. Why are you dragging this out? Why don't you just remake Final Fantasy VII? Like, it shouldn't have taken 5 years to take an existing game and give it a new engine. No, they did not remake Final Fantasy VII. That I am 100% certain of this at this point, because Final Fantasy VII R is not a remake. It is a reboot sequel, similar to Mortal Kombat 9, if you're familiar with that. Almost exactly like Mortal Kombat 9, I think. Going by what I've seen, in that the game takes place in an alternate continuity where characters are receiving visions of the original game to influence their actions. This is we've already seen shots of like that crystal from Aerith's hair, the underwater materia, I think it is, like hitting the ground. We've seen like Nanaki, Red 13, running like he does in the ending cinematic of Final Fantasy VII, and then he goes like, this is what's going to happen if we don't put a stop to this. The entire setup, what I've been seeing from this is that Square is going to ruin the story of Final Fantasy VII. They have already ruined Final Fantasy VII. There's no going back. There's no turning back from this. There's no salvaging this. There's no retconning this. They have reached the point where they are remaking a game and completely ruining it. I don't think anyone can really look at this, even the most casual fan. I don't think anyone can look at this and think this is acceptable, that this is okay, this makes any sort of sense or really contributes to the original story. All anyone wanted, all we wanted, was Final Fantasy VII with new graphics on a new console. That's it. But you couldn't deliver that, could you? You had to make it episodic. You had to change the combat, and you had to completely change the story. Completely change. It's not like the minuscule changes, like the details that kind of ruin the plot and pace. No, this is a straight up ruination. A disaster that completely destroys the entire themes of the original game. They're implying, going by what they've been doing, is that in this alternate continuity, not this remake, this alternate continuity, because Final Fantasy VII R is not a remake. In this alternate continuity, Aerith is going to survive. They're going to. Oh, this is kind of stupid. Okay, so Square actually thinks that humanity went extinct after Final Fantasy VII, which isn't what happens, as anyone who's actually played Final Fantasy VII will tell you. It's a fan theory, a fan wank theory with no real basis. That similar to the Cloud is emo depiction, Square Enix just picked up and ran with it, and now it seems that these people actually believe that they have no idea what Final Fantasy VII is. Right? They're not the developers, they're not the fans, they're just they're Disney tire executives who grabbed grabbed hold of this franchise, handed it off to someone who had no idea what to do with it. In this case, Nomura, and Nomura is doing his thing. This very much looks like something he did with Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts in later entries, I'm told a lot of people I've been talking to have been comparing this to Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts, I'm told, is has some kind of similar time travel shenanigans in later entries, and this looks like more of the same. Like, the same stupid bullshit that ruined Kingdom Hearts is now making its way into Final Fantasy VII. The lazy action combat, the terrible storylines, the ridiculous plot elements. Nothing about Final Fantasy VII R looks good at this stage. I think the only reason people are praising it, the same reason people are praising Resident Evil 3 Remake and all these other rehashes and re-releases and remakes, it's because they have nothing else to play. They are blinded by nostalgia and have to settle for games made 15, 20, 25 years ago. That's the reality of the gaming industry, and there's some reason for that, right? Good games simply aren't being made anymore, on non-Nintendo platforms anymore, I should say. So of course these companies are going to look back and try to milk all these old properties. But we're reaching the point, man. We're reaching the point where these developers are such hacks. They're so ignorant. They're so incapable of putting any project together that they can't even remake a beloved classic. We are at that point. It's just baffling to me to see people continue to defend this. I do suspect that this is going to be another hefty blow against Final Fantasy VII, and I think this is going to be the issue that kills the enthusiasm that fanboys have for it. That this is going to be the plot element that sort of kills the entire momentum behind this game. Because when you get right down to it, it's like I said, it's not a remake. It's a sequel. And with the same story and characters, with like new plot elements that don't really add anything to the original game. It's not the original Resident Evil, right? It came out on the PlayStation and then was remade for the Nintendo GameCube by the series creator, Shinji Mikami. And that didn't happen with Final Fantasy VII R, and it shows, right? The difference in quality there is just unbelievable. Like, what did Remake do? Like, I'm not a big original Resident Evil fan, but it added lots of things, fixed things up, it made some minor adjustments, and it did have some fan service, and it came out in less than 5 years. It did not need this extended development cycle of needing to be. It did not need this extended development cycle of just being of whatever Final Fantasy VII is, right? This game has been a train wreck from the very beginning, but it's only going to get worse from here on out. And I will be here covering Final Fantasy VII R on this channel, on Harmon Smith, on Lee Live. I will be talking about this extensively. Right now, I am trying to get my hands on a full playthrough of the game, and I'll be watching it and streaming it and reacting to it and talking about all the ridiculous aspects of it. I don't even need to play the game to do that. So once the first videos go live, I will be covering it. It'll probably be an extensive show, so please stay tuned for that. This is a disaster. Like, definitely one of the biggest blunders of the decade.